Can remanufacturing of single-use medical devices be part of a safe, economical, and sustainable future for medtech? To answer this question, I brought in Ulrike Marczak. Ulrike is the CEO of Vanguard, a company specialized in remanufacturing of single-use medical devices, and a recognized expert for circular economy concepts for healthcare. In this episode, you're going to learn what the difference between remanufacturing and reprocessing of a medical device is, why remanufacturing of medical devices is relevant for cost, sustainability, and resource security, which medical devices can realistically be remanufactured and under which conditions, and how materials, design decisions, and risk management determine whether the process is going to be feasible. My name is Lucas Penegonda, and we have helped over 40 medtech companies to be more sustainable with plastics. And here's our conversation. So, hi, Ulrike, and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Lucas. Great to see you. Great to hear you.
Yes, it was great to have you on again. So, you're the CEO of a company that does remanufacturing of single-use devices. So, to start, would you explain what your company Vanguard does and how you do this?
Oh, of course, I like to explain it. So, because it's just tell it to everybody what we're doing because we love it so much. So, what we are doing an remanufacturing, or someone called reprocessing of single-use medical devices. So what that means, single-use devices is a single-use devices for a single use. And you have also in the medical industry, you have multiple use instruments. When you, for example, go for a hip surgery in a hospital, it's a multiple use instrument, and this will be reprocessed in this case within the hospital, that you can use it for the next operation for the next patient. And the remanufacturing is that of the single-use device, because it's mentioned, or the intended use, or one part of it is just for the one-time usage per patient. And there is no declaration, no instruction for the hospital how they could run a reprocessing. So what we are doing, we are specialized of this for very complex instruments, especially in the heart electrophysiology, the heart catheter area. We have when I have a heart attack or something like this, or you need a stand, there you find our products, and they cost, for example, 1,000 euros, and then they go normally into the bin. It's just too complicated for the hospital to do a reprocessing and to make sure that it will work after the reprocessing. And so this is why we're doing the remanufacturing. It's more or less a fully refurbishment of the medical device. So we take the used medical device from the hospital and we check if it's possible to do a remanufacturing. So to check, can we do a cleaning, disinfection, functional control, maybe something to change materials or parts on this. Then do a restoration and even the functional test to make sure that the product will work at the patient in the same way like in the first step. And then we remanufacture also a single-use device. So when it comes out of our factory, it's also a single-use device, which we can then goes back to the hospital. This is what we're doing mainly. Hopefully, I have it explained. It's very complex and it's always brand new for the people when we talk to it. So hopefully.
So you mentioned a bunch of things here. So what you're doing is you're taking single-use medical devices from a hospital, which are usually very complex and expensive, and then you clean them, build them up as new, do the functional testing, sterilize them, package them, and sell them back to hospitals. And you become the legal manufacturer. Okay. And then you mentioned that reprocessing and remanufacturing, which are a lot of times they're used synonymously, that reprocessing actually should mean that the hospital does the sterilization and can do sterilization up to X times. And if you do remanufacturing, it's like it goes to a third party, such as your company, and will be refurbished to as good as new condition. Is that what the difference between those two words mean?
In general, yes. The main difference is, so we put a CE mark on the products on it. So in the hospital don't. In the reprocessing, you get the instruction from the OEM. So who sold you this instrument, how the clinic has to reprocess it, how to wash it, to clean it, to sterilization. And it's still the CE mark of the OEM. So, and when we do the remanufacturing, It's not any longer the OEM. We get them our CE mark on the product because we take over the full responsibility. So we really do a remanufacturing. So we rebuild things.
Okay, good. So you become the legal manufacturer of this device, although the original manufacturer might have their name still on there, but you become the one who is liable for the product.
So the original, they don't have the products on the name any longer on the products. So there's a regulation who says when you look into the instruction for use in our field, we have to write who's the original manufacturer. But it's not part of the packaging, and not so you don't see it on the packaging. It's just called Vanguard, and the CE mark is Vanguard, and you can just find the OEM in the instruction for use. This is regulated in the MDR.
Okay, very good. So this reprocessing, remanufacturing topic comes up a lot when we talk about sustainability, because actually what I found is that hospitals, it's not that they don't care about CO2, but it's not their primary metric. But what they care about is single-use waste, because that's actually costing them money. It's actually very visible. And they think, okay, why do I have to throw away this very expensive and also resource-intensive device? So usually this comes in from a, let's say, sustainability perspective. But what are your findings in terms of economical value?
So they're a great impact, and that this industry is there and is existing, and that we're part of the medical or device area and even on the health system. It's because it was the idea of the hospitals. Because in the past, and we're talking here 30 years back, they done it so. So they thought, okay, it looks quite good. So I just do a disinfection and maybe let's see if I can reuse it. And the economic impacts, it's huge for the hospital because you can save up to 50% for a product. So it's not for all product that you say, okay, the OEM price is 50% less, but the main part is 50% less than the OEM.
So for the devices that you are remanufacturing, you find that you can save up to 50% of the cost. When would you say this doesn't make sense anymore from a device perspective? So for which devices does it make sense to have a remanufacturing, and for which ones there is no business case or there is no environmental benefit?
For example, when you look at the hospital, you have a huge portfolio in the hospital. So you have each product which you can find in the market, you will find within the hospitals. And mainly they focus on medical devices. And you have, for example, when you have a small syringe or a cannula or something like this, it doesn't make sense because it's a cent article. You don't pay so much. So even the development cost, you will not get back. And so there's a range. It's a combination of price you can achieve and which resources you have to put into it. So how long is the way you have to drive through, and how complex is the remanufacturing process, for example. Are you able to fulfill the regulations? The important part is in the remanufacturing area, you should be able to mark or to sign the products, because we have to bring one number, we call it product ID on each product. So and we are not able to mark the products. So for example, it's too small. You are not able to do any signatures on this. So we can't reprocess it, for example, or you can't get it clean. So you need an amount of market for the products. It's like a typical industry because it's an industry. So then you need to see, is it really sustainable to do the reprocessing by all the logistics costs you have? And we have also manufacturing costs. For us, it's not the raw material, but it's the water, it's disinfection. So we also have an impact. So, and sometimes when you have a so small syringe, it doesn't make sense to wash this, even to try on. So you don't know. And this is a mix of everything. And even the market is calling for this kind of remanufacturing. So, okay, we have a very, very interesting product. Do you think you can remanufacture this? Because it makes sense to do a reuse. For example, endoscopes is always the question. So endoscopes it's a multiple use instrument, which normally under the reprocessing. And now the OEMs came up and they have single use endoscopes. So just throw it away. And this is, for example, it's a really interesting case because we will not reprocess them because they are not reprocessable, because you need a good quality of the medical devices to do a reprocessing. But it's for the hospital, for process cost and for investments, cheaper to use single-use endoscopes, and you pay than to use multiple use. So, and this is always a mix out of them when it makes sense and when it doesn't make sense, and it also depends on the healthcare market. For example, when you look into the home care area, so now we're talking just about hospital, but go into the home care area. For example, when you use an orthese, something like this. In Germany, you get this once from the healthcare system, and then you have to keep it. Normally, you should give them back, clean them, wash them, and it's possible because it's really good material for this, but there is no market for it. You can't say, but it makes from a sustainable perspective, it totally sense to do it. But there is no market for it due to the insurance system.
Yeah, okay. So I'd like to summarize your insights here because they were multifaceted. So I think the first thing, your reprocessing and setting up of all the remanufacturing, the testing, so your product development has to be able to have an ROI. So there's an economical market perspective here. Then secondly, you said you need the sustainability perspective. So we use water, we use chemicals. Therefore, this impact also has to be considered versus making a new device. And then the third is going to be, I say, the organizational social aspects of, does it make sense for the hospital workflow? Does it make sense from also reimbursement insurance perspective? So there is just stuff that is set up in such a way that it will be counterproductive to what we do. And funnily enough, this is going to be the trinity that we always call for, the triple bottom line: social, economic, and ecological value. So what you do is, if you want to see if a device makes sense to remanufacture, you see, okay, is it going to be more sustainable in this way? And just by sustainable, we mean going to be better in terms of cost, social impact, and the environmental impact. Do you have, let's say, a good rule of thumb which devices are going to be better? So you said complex, expensive devices make sense. Simple, cheap devices usually do not make sense. Where's a good rule of thumb for a cutoff?
You mean from the pricing here that you say, okay, what's because we need to see it because it's just for 10 cents, or we can look at the perspective to say, okay, we have in Germany, and it's now because of our main market is Germany, so that we have a look into it and say, when we have a volume of products, for example, then we're also working on products which costs as OEM less than 200 euros, but not less than 100. But there you need a volume. So, but we have also product where the people say 3,000 per piece, and then you have another volume. So this is the range we have, but it depends always on volume and that you can make the logistical ways.
Okay, so it is a combination of manufacturing cost per medical device and about how many of those devices you can do. So it's like the hard cutoff would be like if it's below 100 euros per unit, it's going to be difficult because the unit economics don't work out. And then if you have it around 200 and you need less volume, and if it becomes to like 2,000, 3,000 per medical device, it starts to make sense for low volume units.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Because you have to achieve your CE mark. You need to develop the remanufacturing process. You have to bring all the testing equipment and all the testing equipment, and that's built by ourselves. And when I have a low budget product, which I have an easy way to test, even to remanufacture, and I have a good outcome of the production, then I can do this. But when I, for example, sometimes I have products, I bring 10 into the process and I just get back 3. And this is, for example, just for products that are really high level on cost and complexity in the remanufacturing process and production process. But for processes where you say, okay, it's not that much. So when I have 10 out of 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10, then I can handle it totally different.
It also depends on the yield that you get. So if I put in 100 devices, I get 99 back. Very good. If I only get 30 back, it's going to be By the way, do you have purchasing costs for this, or do you get this for free from the hospitals?
No, we have purchasing costs for this. So because our suppliers are the hospital, which sell to us the used medical devices. So Germany is a little bit different because there's a service model on that side. So there the customer just want their own products back and they don't buy from our storage. But for example, outside of Germany, the main market is just we have our suppliers which are preparing our products. And they have to do stuff. So they have to prepare, they have to give us the labels. So they have really to do work. They really work to prepare. And so this is what we, and they will pay for. And there we have also the costs for it.
Okay. And if you're purchasing costs, so if you're purchasing 100 devices and then you only get 30 back, of course, the business case doesn't look as nice as if you get 99 back and can resell them at a higher price for the hospital.
Yeah. And for example, when we also do this, these kind of growth, a lot of these products run through the complete remanufacturing process when they are remanufactured, disinfected, and they just fall or get an error within the functional testing. So I have to do all the process, all the remanufacturing, and then you have the functional testing before sterilization and packaging, and then it goes, no, doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, and then also on top of that is not only your economical case does look worse, but also your ecological footprint, because you've generated a footprint, but you have no functional unit to compare it against. So more devices need to take up the same footprint.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So thank you very much for those insights. There's another topic I want to discuss with you, because we talked economics now, we talked ecology. We're convinced that for certain devices, this makes sense. But then there are people who say, yeah, but this is not safe and it's a single-use device and you shouldn't be able to do this because the original manufacturer said that you cannot reprocess this and it's a single-use device. So it's basically, in Germany, you would say Zweckentfremdung. So you're doing something which you're not supposed to do with it. What do you say to that?
Good question. This is the fights for, and this is where the people not even, we're talking about this since 30 years now in Europe. Not even so, just it's brand new. And so it's 30 years we have this discussion. And as I said before, it wasn't our idea. The industry who said, okay, it could be a great job to do it and a lot of fun. And it's a good thing to do. And we feel as very good to do it. So it was out of the hospital, and the hospital done this too. And it's funny when the hospitals do it, they're using by themselves, it's safe, and you bring it into public, it's then not safe. So it is safe because we have our lot size is always one. And the main part is to make sure that these products are clean, have no microbiology risk, that they have the hygiene fine, that they biocom is fine, cytotox is fine. So everything, even that this work, how it's supposed to work. And this is what we have to test. And we test this not per batch. What we bring in the production, we do piece by piece. So we have a 100% check of the products, if they work or not. And I had this discussion yesterday because we said, why you think it's safe? It's not why I'm thinking, it's I know it's safe. Because in our factory, no product will leave the factory when the people have a not good feeling. Because one is you have the technical tests. And then you have the people, because the people doing the job. And we have trained our people to say, okay, the products which leave our factories should be so safe that you are that you would always use the products within your family. So you have no harm that these products which you bring to the market, which you produce, can use within your family, with your husband, with your wife, with your kids, with a grandma and with a mother. And this is one mantra we have. So we believe in the product, we're doing the right things. And even as I said, yeah, they are right. They are single used. And these products, when they are used, they are not supposed to say, okay, I used it, now I put it in the next patient. No. It has to be cleaned, it has to be tested, it has to be sterilized, and then to say it worked again, and now it's a new single-use device. It's not that you say like a scissor when you do any paperwork and say, okay, I use it for 3 papers to cut this. No, I have to clean, prepare after each paper, after each side. So Yes, it sounds strange to say single-use devices are reprocessed, but when you also look in the medical device regulation, there is a part of regulation. It's regulated. And this is the point. So we have a CE mark. It was not supposed to be a multiple-use instrument or a medical device, but when we buy used single-use devices, we bring it into our factories, do the remanufacturing, and what it comes. We take over the ownership of the products, and then we become the manufacturer by all the steps we're doing. And then we have a CE mark, and then we have the full manufacturer responsibility with a CE mark on the products and bring it back to the market. And this is still a single-use device.
And in the end, you're also going to be liable for it, and you're completely within the legal frame here in the MDR as a legal manufacturer, and you have all the responsibilities that come along with the legal manufacturer. One question here. It's like the legal manufacturer of such single-use devices has the obligation to do post-market surveillance. So what happens with my device? And there, if it would be true that your devices would be more unsafe than other devices of such a kind, you would have to find that in your post-market surveillance. Do you see that?
No. So what we have also to run post-market surveillance. They have no more incidents like the normal manufacturer, because when you go into the relation, because everybody thinks the OEM have nothing happened with the products, and they have 100% of products which are always working. It's not true. Everybody from us knows sometimes when you have a bad size, it could happen that a product doesn't work even in the first step. Although we would see it when we have something happen, but then it's late. But we also have all this system where we do all the vigilance system on our products. So we are a normal manufacturer, medical device manufacturer, like all the OEMs. They don't like us this much, but we are on the similar page, same page.
When you go into what the risk management requirements say, risk or a safe device means it's free from unacceptable risk. Doesn't mean it's free of any risk. That means it's free from unacceptable risk. That means that a certain percentage of the devices, even from original devices, will be having some sort of issue. And this is why you do risk management, to minimize this, of course. And if you find something in post-market surveillance, of course, you should take action and say, okay, how can we do better? But basically, the argument here is like we're as good as new. And we don't need to be better as new.
Yeah, right. Sometimes it's because when we bring the products into the cycles and then we test and we have to do a lot of tests. And some of the tests we're running, where we say, okay, we think the OEM should have known this. For example, when you have to make sure, I don't know the English word now, Dichtigkeit.
Tightness.
Tightness? Could be tightness, I'm just right. So, and we check this, and when the tightness, and when we get the first time in the process and they're falling out, so they don't pass the test, then there was an issue already with the OEM. So, and this is sometimes funny, and even the people ask us a lot of times when we have products with more cycles in our factories, then why is the first cycle, why you have a so high scrap rate in the first cycle? And then we say, okay, because we're testing everything out. So because we do a lot of tests and out. And then by the next time, the scrap is much lower than in the first place.
So you improve on the quality that already existed on the market.
And we learn a lot of it.
Yeah, and I imagine it's quite difficult to reverse engineer all of the requirements that you get from a device. So you take a device and you basically reverse engineer all the requirements in order to be able to test it. So maybe a question to that and also to the original OEM manufacturers. How is this received, I'd say? So is there some cooperation going on? Is there resistance to this going on? Is there like both? How is this seen in the market?
It's both. So we have products in the market where the manufacturer came to us and said, okay, come on, our product is so expensive that it just makes sense for the German healthcare system when we do a reprocessing. Could we develop a process and then say, okay, Vanguard can reprocess the product? And this is what we have, or even when we have development, there are always something in the back where the OEM's talking to us. In the front, they're blaming us. In the back, they're talking to us. But they don't, even for now, for future developments, it's now much more than it was in the past. And very often in the past, it was that it was a single-use device, and then they developed a multiple-use device in the second step out of this. So just to reduce the time of market. So this is the one way. And the other way is we have a very big R&D department with a lot of people with very specific skills, and they're really doing re-engineering of the product. So they're checking how it should be work, what's the function they do, that you have to develop the testings, how it should work, and all this. And then it's from a mechanical to a biology, chemicals, even to software analysts and stuff like, or programmers. So in our R&D department is, you find, I think, complete university.
Yeah. So, that would be much easier if you would have the original, I would say, technical documentation that they have for this device.
Yeah, and what I don't understand, I said, my dream is, or my vision, that someone in the future, the OEMs came to us, hey, come on, let's talk about it. You have the knowledge on remanufacturing, let's do it together. We tell the customer, our products are remanufacturable. Give it to Vanguard, this works, so we know you do it so or so. And now they are fighting against us, but we can do it partnerships. Okay, if you need to do it, we don't like it, but bring it to Vanguard.
Yeah, and what you also have to say is, like, from an original manufacturer's perspective, getting a single-use device to market is a lot easier than to have a multi-use device, because you will have to validate all the reprocessing at your site, which you're very good at because you specialize in exactly and only this, but they would have to do this on top. So if there would be a way that they can say, okay, we make it safe for the first time, and then we will test out if someone like Vanguard with our support can figure out how to reprocess that, but we are not in the end liable that it has to, because that is the point in the MDRs. Like, if you say you can reuse this 10 times, then you need to make sure that it's basically as good as new at the 10th time, which also leads to you over-engineering the thing to a large degree.
And you just to keep in mind, even from the economics perspective, because the products are all over in the hospital market. So, and the test equipment you need to check if the products after all this clean and disinfection rebuilding processes still works is so expensive. And then you have to tell the hospital, you have to buy it. So it's also an economical point. You can't do it because I know what we have to pay and develop for it. And because if the hospital can do it by itself, you need to have it in the hospital. And so we have 3 factories in Germany, and we say, okay, bring it to them. And we said, okay, and all the products came to us. But if you need to have it in the hospital, to be fair regarding the OEM, you need knowledge, you need to be, and even the lead time. So we need, for some products, just when I put all the dates together, 5 days. And in the hospital, it's difficult. So to be quite fair, the one point is for us, and it would make sense. But on the other hand, the hospital can't afford the measurement tools to do the testings.
Yeah, it's not only that, you need a quality system, you need people to take care of it. They are like constantly short of people. And it's just an additional step. And we have discussed this on the podcast multiple times. Also, like, we had single-use endoscopes manufacturers on the podcast. And they said, okay, if you have a multi-use endoscope, for example, you have 10 of them because you want to do 10 surgeries. Okay, and then next day I want to do 10 surgeries again. And then one comes back non-sterile. Okay, I can't do that. I need to shift the patient. On the other hand, I have the multi-use endoscopes on my balance sheet. And if I take a single use, it's going to be a lot more convenient, and it's going to be a lot more calculatable, like how the cost is going to turn out.
It's more controllable.
Yes. Good. So because I come obviously from a design and materials perspective, what do you think is going to be the go and no-go design and material, say, decisions if someone wants to make their single-use device as remanufacturable as possible? So what kind of things do you see as red flags, and what do you see as, that will be a way to improve?
It's to, just from the perspective to do it. So it should be a product which can, for multiple use, it should be a product which can really good reprocessed at the hospital site. So that you, and even not with manual processes that you can do, or put it into a machine with any installation into it, because it's like washing machines and clean disinfection machines in the hospital. This needs to be fulfilled. And when you have a manual process, which is not automatically, and even to say, okay, I can always reproduce it in the same way. And this is difficult by manual processes. So it needs to be automated processes. It needs to be very easy, understandable process with not so high range, clear chemicals you can use. And not only one from one OEM, then that you mainly say, okay, these are the chemicals you can use to get the products clean. And and even it's to say, okay, to just to say, make it really sense. Is it helpful for the people to have single uses? What is really single use devices? Does it make sense at that point or not? For example, in the past, you have also bandages, and the parts were washed in the hospital and reused. Today, no one is doing it anymore because by the economic and social point, there's not the people and not the money to wash it because it's too expensive now. So to say, okay, single-use devices, to say to use a multiple-use device, I would say really think of just not on margin on products, develop products which are really helpful for the people and the patient, not only fancy. And in our area for the heart and the rhythm part, it's more an electronical lab than operating room. So much technical stuff which you have and you have to bring to, and which you have to understand. So just, it's even our cars, for our cars. So there's so much software included, so much assistance which you can't control anymore. You say, what is my car doing now? Why is it doing? Or all this, and it just may be helpful to know how this car works. So then we struggle. So it's good to be automatic. It's good to have a lot of electronical stuff which is automated, where we use KI and all of these. But please make it possible that we can control all the processes, all the products, that we know it's safe, and not the product is controlling us. And for the materials, if you use plastics, which kind of material you use there, I think you know more about this than me. What is a good plastic to do a reprocessing, and when it's helpful to fulfill all the biocom and cytotox and not get any chemicals into the material.
Yeah. So I think the point you were trying to make is that you should focus on the essential function of the medical product. And this is like the first step. It's not the first step. I think the first step in eco design should be you should focus on the problem you're solving. You should really dig down into what specific problem am I trying to solve, and make it, I'd say, user, may that be healthcare professional or patient centric. Then what we can also think about is the business model. That will be the next step. And then you go, okay, and what is the essential function and how do we fulfill it with the least amount of bells and whistles attached to it? And then what you also mentioned, and this came across me multiple times by now, that the amount of electronics and software and AI and whatnot included in medical devices is increasing. And that means that you are not only getting more single-use waste, but you're also getting more complex single-use waste, meaning that it's electronic waste with a lot of different components in there.
And sometimes contaminated electronic waste.
Yeah, contaminated e-waste, yes. And then one proposed solution for this is something that would be called a hybrid use device. So that you have the electronics being a multi-use device that it can be wipe disinfected, and then there's a single-use consumable attached to it, for example, a stapler. Because the stapler, it's extremely difficult to clean and contaminated with all sorts of bodily fluids. But the electronics attached to it, that will be fine to use multiple times.
This is why we have our job.
So what's your take on this hybrid use concept?
So I like it. So, and it's not, because this is what I said, because due to the fact that it's a hybrid use possible, because electronic, it has to be so strong in the part that it can be reused. And because this is what we're doing now. So with the electronic, it's never the issue. Sometimes it's the chip inside that say, okay, the software is doing thing, or they're really locked now for reprocessing, stuff like this. But there is no need for example, to say, okay, you lock this once on the generator, and after 24 hours or 12 hours, you can't lock it again. Why? So just 24 hours or 12, that makes no sense. So, and the hybrid use, there are a lot of products already. When we see the move of the OEMs that they're doing it. So it's a great thing, I think. But the best thing is a product not to use.
Yeah, so avoiding product is certainly one of the measures that we can take. But sometimes we just need to use them, to use the medical devices. And then there we just need to make sure that it's as economically, socially responsible and ecological as possible. Good. So thank you very much for your insights, Ulrike. So coming to a bit the more personal part, tell us a bit how you ended up at Vanguard and about your career.
The first time I joined Vanguard, they were my son, very little. So, and I was a working mom, and then I decided, okay, and I had a career already, and I was fine. I said, okay, come on, slow down. And I have worked in an international company, and then I said, okay, and then I got a call for Vanguard, and I like the idea. I really like the idea of Vanguard and what we're doing, even this concept we have. So, and then I decided to go to Vanguard for my son, and as to have it, to do a job from 9 to 5, as you say, and but I was so fixed at this, and I really like what we are doing. So I have a career now, and I spend a lot of time. I really believe in Vanguard, and I really believe what we are doing, and I find it's a great thing what we are doing. So, for example, even when you're looking into the healthcare industry now, even in Germany, when I see where my parents, they are now they're elderly people, and when I see how complicated our medical device system is, and even to get appointments for hard stuff or even for operations, and to work in this industry is great, and even the sustainable part, because I'm out of the village. So I'm from the countryside, on the Nordic countryside. So I think to use and to reuse things where it's possible is a great thing. So, and to reduce the time to go to the hospital and just to say not to use things, just to be green. I'm really green, and I believe in this, and to have it in an industry, and by heart, I'm green. I know I'm outside of the village, so. The village part, and I'm still living on the countryside, close to Berlin. So I like this. So I do my bread. We're talking about plants. A lot of people within Vanguard, you will know, we're talking about tomatoes and paprika. How runs your potatoes this year? So it's really funny, and I like this. I like the people. I like the way or the style we're living, and it's great to run this in an industry. It's very innovative. It's always interesting. And so I ended up on the end of the day by all this. I really believe in this, and by all this power I have, I'm really burning on it, and I'm really on fire. And this is why I ended up on the end as a CEO. So I've started as a business unit director, as a plant director, and just had some sidekicks. Sometimes I was a member of the board. So for the first time I've started with Vanguard, I never left Vanguard. It was since it's part of my DNA, I think. So I really like it, and I like it to be the CEO of Vanguard, and I'm on fire. You immediately see it. I am really on fire for it, and it's the best part in a very good industry. It's so cool stuff to do. And this is why I ended up, and I really fight for it.
I can really see your passion, and I think the listeners can too. I think it's what we all want to do when we work in healthcare. We want to have purpose in our work. Good. So let's come to the last question. What kind of advice would you like to get to our listeners in terms of remanufacturing devices?
Just sometimes remanufacturing, it's a great thing, and it's happened since 30 years in the industry. And we are since 30 years part of it. And even as I mentioned in the beginning, a lot of people say it's not safe. It is safe. And sometimes it makes sense just to trust and to look behind the scenes and look into it, look for it. And it's a great thing, remanufacturing. It gives us a chance to open up the world to everybody to have a good and complex medical insurance operations, indication, and to get help. It's a helpful thing for everybody of us.
Yes, and as you already said, you're very open for collaboration. So
Yeah, just call me.
good. Give Ulrike a call. Good. So any last words from your side?
Thanks to you. Always great to talk to you. It's always a great time we have, and then I enjoy. So looking forward to the next time. So, and still, if you want to come to visit us in Berlin, in all Aschersleben or Friedberg, to visit our factory, we will do the tour.
Yes, if I'm next time I'm in Berlin, I give you a call. Good. So, thank you very much. This was Ulrike Marczak, the CEO of Vanguard, and until the next time.